matata.
If you've clicked on this video, you're most probably planning or thinking of going to the Masai Mara National Reserve. And if so, this video was meant to find you. I am here at the Masai Mara National Reserve, Africa's most iconic wildlife safari, and cannot believe that I not only survived, but am actually having fun. It is without a doubt one of the most unique experiences of my life. However, to ensure you have the best time of your life here, there are several things you need to know before coming. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you absolutely everything you need to know, from what to pack or prepare before your trip, quintessential activities that you need to do when you're here, and also general etiquette and best practices to observe while you're here at the most amazing corner of the earth. Consider this your ultimate Masai Mara survival guide. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before we head to the Masai Mara, we first need to get you ready for your trip. So let me share with you a checklist of items that you need to do or prepare beforehand. The first one doesn't just apply to an African safari or the Masai Mara, but to Kenya in general, and that is vaccinations. Now, I wish to preface this by saying that I'm not a medical expert. However, based on my consultation with my medical practitioner, these were the vaccines that he recommended, and so these were exactly what I got. However, it's always a good idea to double check with your GP before taking any of these shots. In addition to all the vaccines, I was also given a dose of Doxycycline, which is an anti-malaria medication. Again, best to double check with your GP before deciding if this is for you. I also personally brought along some Travacalm because nobody will tell you this, but those safari jeep rides can be quite bumpy. And so if you're prone to motion sickness like I am, definitely make sure you have some Travacalm or some form of anti-motion sickness pills with you. This next one probably goes without saying, but as you'll be outdoor extensively, you definitely want to make sure you have some sunscreen with you. I'm a huge fan of Korean sunscreens. This is the one I use for my face. It's from Round Lab. And for the rest of my body, I just used La Roche-Posay. The sunscreen brands don't matter though. What matters is that you need to reapply often. Speaking of reapplication, another thing that you want to make sure you have is a mosquito repellent. And this one's a good alternative to the Doxycycline. Just make sure that you reapply often. It actually even says that it comes with a sunscreen, built-in sunscreen. However, as there was no SPF stated on this, what I did was I applied this first, followed by the sunscreen. As an extra layer of protection to the mosquitoes and the sun, definitely bring along some long sleeve shirts. So not this, but something like this, which I got off Uniqlo, would be quite helpful. But do make sure that the clothing you bring is neutral colored. That's what they encourage for anyone going to a safari. And so that's colors like olive green, brown, khaki, and so forth. Here's a little color scheme for reference. The color scheme, by the way, also applies to your pants and jackets, which we will get to in a bit. But for the pants, this was what I actually wore, as you can see in the picture here. It's just a pair of cargo pants that I got from Uniqlo. A common misconception that a lot of people have about Africa, most people including me that is that Africa is hot all year round. And if you think that, you would be wrong. You'll be surprised, as a matter of fact, at how cold the Masai Mara gets, especially in the early mornings. And so I would definitely recommend bringing along a light jacket. But hot tip, do dress in layers as the day does warm up as it progresses. And so you do want to make sure you have options. As you will be doing a little bit of walking as well, I would also recommend a good pair of boots. This is what I brought. So assuming that you're all packed and ready to head to the Masai Mara, we should now talk about how to get there. Masai Mara is located approximately 225 kilometers away from Nairobi, and there are two ways to get there. You can either catch a car, which will take you around 5 or 6 hours, or you can do what I'm gonna do, which is I'm gonna catch a plane. We're here at the Howard Airport at the ALS terminal to catch a plane right there, and that should take us around 45 minutes. So we weren't allowed to take any pictures of the plane from the outside, so I didn't do that out of respect for them. But we're allowed to take pictures inside, and guys, this plane is super duper small. Let me just pan the camera around so you get to see it. Yeah, what's wrong with it? Jumbo! 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 Woo! And just like that, we've arrived at the Masai Mara. I will say that despite the flight being slightly unnerving, the view when you're in the sky is simply stunning. We are staying at the Muthu Keekorok Lodge, and that's where we're heading to next. Java! Along with figuring out how to get to the reserve, you also need to work out where to stay. You do have the choice to stay out of the reserve or within the reserve, though I would personally recommend for you to stay within the reserve. It does cost a little bit more, but I mean, it's totally worth it. Staying inside the reserve and being with the wildlife is definitely on the very top of the list of things you want to do when at the Masai Mara. In terms of specifically where, I am staying at the Muthu Keekorok Lodge. It is perhaps the most iconic safari lodge here at the Masai Mara and is one of the OGs as it was established back in 1962 as the first ever lodge here at the Masai Mara. It also has the perfect location if you want to see the famous Great Migration, as it is located right next to the seasonal migration routes, providing you that opportunity to be up close and personal with the wildlife. And look, you know that you're going to see a lot of animals when you see a warning sign like this at the hotel. The lodge is set within a lush landscape ground featuring African-inspired architecture with modern comforts. Guests can relax by the pool, enjoy diverse cuisines at the restaurant, or unwind at the hippo bar, which overlooks a pond often frequented by hippos. Yet another reason to stay within the reserve is that it will be super close for you to get to a game drive, which is something you must do when you're at the Masai Mara. What is a game drive, I hear you say? Well, it involves getting into one of these jeeps that has an open roof, as it drives around the reserve, getting you up close and personal to all the local residents of the Masai Mara. And yes, this is how close you'll be getting to it. It is usually done first thing in the morning around 6 a.m. as that is when the Mara's wildlife is at its most active. By the way, one of the common misconceptions of the Masai Mara is that you should only visit during the Great Migration period, which takes place around late July to August, and again on their return south around the last 2 weeks of October through to early November. But guess what? The residents of the reserve live there all year long, and going there in the off-peak period, which is January to June, not only means that you pay half the reserve access fees, you also get to see the wildlife without the crowds. And apart from seeing some of the animals, the mornings are also such a fantastic time to see the reserve. I mean, just look at the skyline. The early morning light paints vibrant colors across the sky and the reserve, showcasing exactly why the Masai Mara is a world-renowned safari destination. So we're here at the Maasai village where the owners of the land live. Come with me, let's go check it out. The Maasai people, known for their distinct customs, vibrant attire and close connection to the land, welcomes visitors to experience their way of life. And that's what we're about to go do. Upon arrival, you will be greeted with a traditional welcome song and dance. And once they're done with the dance, this is where they officially welcome us into the village. You will then be invited to explore the village, including a look inside a traditional Maasai Manyata home made out of mud, sticks and cow dung, showcasing their resourceful construction methods. Guided by a village member, you will also learn about the Maasai's daily practices such as cattle herding, beadwork and fire making techniques, which have been passed down through generations. Having a bush breakfast at the Masai Mara National Reserve is also something you have to experience. It allows you to enjoy a meal in the heart of the African wilderness. This commonly takes place after an early morning game drive. You'll be guided to a scenic spot where tables are elegantly set up for an alfresco breakfast. You already know that the sunrise is a must-see at the Masai Mara, but the sunset is also unforgettable. The skyline filled with hues of pink, orange and purple across the vast savanna is something to behold. You can choose to watch the sunset along with some of the other lodge residents at a vantage point of the reserve with some drinks and snacks. I personally highly recommend this experience. But one thing you do need to bear in mind, no matter how much fun you are going to have at the Masai Mara, is that you're going to be out in the wild. And as such, there are general etiquette and best practices that you need to be aware of while you're there, for the protection of both yourself and the wildlife. One of the major rules is to always stay within designated areas and always follow your local guide's instructions. This applies everywhere, but especially during game drives, as getting too close to the animals can be dangerous. Speaking of those game drives, definitely remain within your vehicle at all times unless otherwise instructed. And apart from not getting too close to the animals, definitely do not provoke or startle the animals as well. Noise should be kept to a minimum, and we will particularly advise this when we were close to some of the bigger cats like the lions, but it should apply nonetheless throughout the entire experience. This next one should be obvious, but littering is strictly prohibited, so just don't do it. Further to that, speaking of things that you should not do not ever try to feed any of the animals, as this can not only be dangerous, but it also disrupts the animal's natural behaviors. On and above all, always remember that you're in someone else's playground, and as such, following the rules is a must to ensure that you do have the experience of your life. I do hope that this video has been informative and helpful in helping you plan that trip to the Masai Mara. Trust me, if even I could have survived an African safari, so can you. But if you weren't planning a trip to the Masai Mara but made it all the way here to this point of the video, I do hope that this video has made you put the Masai Mara onto your travel bucket list. If you are traveling to Kenya for the first time or the first time in a while, there are several things that you need to be aware of before going, and that's why I will be doing a first-timers guide to Kenya, Africa, which I will upload next week. So if you do not want to miss out on that, definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so that you can be notified the moment that video goes live. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help in appeasing those YouTube algorithm gods, but more importantly, it just makes my day as a content creator. And I say this every single week because I mean it, okay? I do hope that you have a fantastic day ahead, or that you've already had a good day. I will see you very soon in the next video. Ciao!